Hey y'all, I wanted to make a quick tier list for players that are new to the game and trying to figure out what class they want to play. This isn't going to be a class guide or anything like that. It's just going to tell you what classes I think are best for new players and which ones you should avoid. But having that said, still play whatever class looks funnest to you. I'll just throw this as an example. If I don't rate Witch Hunter or Witch Elf highly, it doesn't mean you shouldn't play them. If you like stealth classes, then play what's most enjoyable to you. So let's get it started off with healers. Honestly, um, all healers are extremely needed in this game, but I'm still gonna put Shaman and Archmage in A tier. They're not the hardest classes to play, but they are the hardest healers to play. Unless you have a group member who's like permanently buffing your uh, cast time reduction and whatnot, and cooldown reduction, such as a Blackguard or Swordsmaster. The rest of the healers are easily going into S tier because you can kind of just pick them up, and even if you don't have someone buffing you or don't have someone guarding you, you're extremely useful. Uh, to be honest, you can get by as a new player just spamming group heal on all of these healers and do perfectly fine. So, if you're a new player and wanting to heal, I do recommend the Rune Priest and Zealot, and then the Disciple of Cain and Warrior Priest, and then lastly Archmage and Shaman. But again, all of these are going to be extremely useful. None of them are particularly hard to play. Next up is the tanks. I'm going to throw Chosen and Knight in the highest uh, tier at the very top, even above the healers, because you you cannot get easier to play than Chosen and Knight of the Blazing Sun. They provide the most value out of any tank. They have the simplest rotations. Both of them are extremely tanky. If you're a new player, you don't have anyone to play with. Well, first you should try to find people to play with. But having that said, Chosen and Knight can solo more than anything else in this game as well. So PVE related, anyways. So all around, best classes for new players. Always recommended them for if you're new to the game. Uh, as far as tanks go, no one would debate this. Blackguard and Ironbreaker are by far the biggest learning curve, in my opinion. Uh, Both extremely good. Blackguard has its niche things that, uh, if you're new to it, you can definitely tell that that's a new Blackguard. Whereas Chosen and Knight are all Chosens and Knights are the same. Uh, Black Orc and Swordmaster, I'm going to throw them at the bottom of A. They could be high B. Again, both are really good in warbands. Swordmaster's good everywhere. Swordmaster's, uh, if it was purely off of what they can do, Swordmaster would be top of S with Chosen and Knight. Same with Blackguard. But their rotation is definitely a lot harder, and for a new player, they're going to be one tier below. So next, let's go to melee DPS. Slayer and Choppa. I wouldn't say they're necessarily hard, but if you're new, you're gonna die a lot with them. They're really squishy. Um, they're kind of the Unga Boongas of ROR DPS. You just run in, spam. for the most part. Really easy for new players to pick up, but at the same time, you need guard. And since you can't really rely on just yourself, I'm going to throw them in A tier. Because you do rely on other people, and they can't solo PvE content that well. So everything else on this list is also really able to solo PvE. Like anything above these are going to do pretty well in PvE solo. Nowhere near as good as the Knight and Chosen, though. Next up is the Marauder and White Lion. I'm going to throw Marauder in S tier because you can go Monstro and AoE spam. And just like Slayer and Choppa, you're going to Oonga Boonga shit down. You're not going to do as much damage, but the trade-off is you're tanky as shit. You have a ton of self-healing. You have AoE knockdown. You just have a lot of tools in your toolkit, and none of them are particularly hard to play. On the other side of that spectrum, it is a very high skill cap class as well. It's the stance dancing class, so to speak. Swapping arms and shit. So, depending on what spec you play, this could be B or S, but I'm going to base it off the idea that you're going to play Monstro as a new player, and that is definitely a easy spec to pick up. White Lion, it's going to go bottom of A tier. Extremely good class, extremely good Oonga Boonga, but more difficult to play than Slayer and Choppa for a new player. Does about the same damage, has leap, has a pet, but same problems. You need a guard, and it's way harder for a new player to guard a White Lion because they're pouncing around and shit. Next up is Witch Hunter and Witch Elf. So Witch Elf is going to go, let's say, bottom A. It's sad in this game, but Witch Elves and Witch Hunters are pretty hated. You know, I'm moving it back to bottom B. They're pretty hated in warbands. Like, you typically don't want them unless you have a single target group. It's sad. I wish they brought more to the table for a warband, but simply because of that, they're going B tier. Now, if you love solo roaming and shit, they would go S tier, but I'm basing this off the principle of you're a new player and you're not looking to get farmed by max level, max geared players. So I would still put Witch Hunter far harder to play than Witch Elf. So keep that in mind. Now, range classes. Shadow Warrior and Squig Herder, both pretty easy to play. Both extremely viable, both wanted in warbands. You can't go wrong with these classes if you want to play a ranged DPS. They're not going to do as much damage as the White Lion, Choppa, Slayer, even Marauder, but they're ranged. Now, Shadow Warrior does have insane burst with Festering Arrow, but that's beside the point. Let's do Sorc and Bright Wizard. I'm going to put them at the very bottom. Like, I don't think new players should go to these right off the bat. They have mechanics to where you can kill yourselves with them. And in my opinion, anytime mechanics like that are in games, they're not fun. So I would try to enjoy the game first on something else and get the hang of it. Having said that, though, they are the biggest burst damage classes in the game by far. They can 100 0 someone if they combo correctly. Very strong, very good classes. You need a guard. You need healers to be paying attention. And you need to not kill yourself with your mechanic. All right, last but not least, Engineer and Magus. I'll put them above Slayer and Choppa. Not because I think they're necessarily better. In fact, most Magus players are going to hate me for saying this. I think they're pretty good for new players. They're pretty simple. They both have tank builds ish that you can run. They're pretty versatile for a ranged class. So if you like the idea of a stationary pet, then I think those are the classes for you. Now that's the end of the tier list. I do want to say again though, play what's most enjoyable for you. This is again a class tier list for new players. It's not me saying these classes are the best in any situation. It's me saying I think these are the classes that a new player will do best on. So, and they're given rules. So, thank you guys for watching and have a great day. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions. See you.